Have you ever felt so lost and later realized that that was the exact moment that started your journey to where you're meant to be? Because a few years ago, I would have never thought that I would fly to San Francisco to speak to an audience of hundreds of people about a piece I wrote. But life has a funny way of putting you in places that you once thought were out of reach. And if you relate to any of this, I'm Dr. Paco, and I've spent the past decade figuring this all out for myself. And I'm going to share a few things that will help you avoid some of the biggest mistakes I've made in building a full-time career in music. But before I get ahead of myself, let me show you how I ended up here. I'm about to head to the airport to go to San Francisco to hear the premiere of a concerto that I wrote. And that still feels so surreal to say, because a few years ago I had no idea any of this would be possible. And it's making me reflect on how none of this came from choosing one identity as a musician. But how did I get here?
Return to claim your property at the information desk on level 3 between checkpoints B and C.
What I've come to learn is that most classical musicians are shown a very specific version of what success is. And for the longest time, I thought there were only two paths in music. You either become a famous performer or you went into academia. And if you never achieved either of those categories, you were never going to make it as a classical musician. But what if you don't see yourself in either one? Are you supposed to change yourself to fit in? And this is where most classical musicians get it wrong, because you don't have to boil down your career to one thing. And I struggled with this exact feeling. I felt like I had to choose between my love for teaching, performing, and composing, as if doing more than one of them meant I wasn't committing to any of them. So then we're left with the same question. What are you supposed to do? Pick only one part of yourself and let the rest disappear? And if you're like me, this is where you start to feel frustrated and lost as a classical musician, because the advice is always the same. Focus on one thing, specialize, and be realistic. But realistic according to who? And what if that version of realistic is exactly why you feel like you're never going to make it as a classical musician? This is the part that most people don't explain. You don't actually have to choose. You just haven't been shown how to build something that includes all of it yet. And over time, I started to realize there are so many different ways to build a career in music. So instead of cutting things out, what would happen if you try to continue to develop all the parts of your musicianship that matter to you? The hard truth is, doing that is a lot easier said than done, because the scariest part is not knowing where it's going to lead. And that uncertainty of not having a clear path is uncomfortable. The reason most classical musicians make the mistake of forcing themselves into one lane is because it might seem predictable and certain. But in the modern music career landscape, nothing is foolproof. And watching the premiere of my piece makes me think about how different everything looks now, because I embrace the uncomfortable and refuse to choose only one path. So ask yourself, what would be possible if you stopped doing what others say you're supposed to do and started doing what feels right for your own career? So if you're someone who doesn't feel like you fit into one career path in classical music, know that there isn't just one path that you're supposed to be following. You're building something that doesn't come with a clear blueprint, and that can feel scary, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. Because past me would have never thought that anyone would hear my compositions, but I just flew almost 700 miles to San Francisco to hear the world premiere of one of my pieces. Let me know everything you would include in your dream music career. And if you're feeling like you're not sure how to get there, consider following along, because I'd love to take this journey together. And if you're in the middle of building something that doesn't fully make sense yet, I promise you, you'll be glad you didn't stop.